Hi, everybody. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Welcome to episode 45 of Duke's Download. I'm so thrilled we have Dorinda Medley as our guest today. Just going to wait for her to log on. I'm such a fan. She's an amazing entrepreneur, businesswoman, author. So I'm really, really excited that she has joined us. We've had a few scheduling issues, but I'm happy that she is on today. And I see she has joined the conversation. I am now excited.
I am
Hello.
here.
How are you?
It's the finally we meet. Sorry, I just got back from the Bahamas, and
Um,
literally I just walked in. All my luggage is here, so this is no makeup, no nothing.
well, you look gorgeous as always,
It's
and
nice
I'm
to
so
meet you
grateful.
finally.
Seriously, I know. No, I'm thrilled. And how was the Bahamas? Looked like it was beautiful.
Unbelievable. Well, Bahamas is like my home away from home. I've been going there for like 25 years, so it's like I just feel like I'm
Oh.
back home when it. That's going to be my next place I buy. That's going to be the next place I buy somewhere. Definitely, I see myself growing out there. I did a Instagram post today. I was channeling CZ Guest. Like I could really go down that route and the caftans, the crazy lady, you know.
Well, no, I think caftans suit you. It's very elegant. You pull them off. Very elegant.
Well, I
So,
like a good caftan.
well, no, and that sounds like the perfect life. You've got Bluestone Manor, the Bahamas. I can't think of anything better than that. That
Well,
combination.
and I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure you read it. I'm selling this apartment that I'm in right now,
Right. Yeah.
which is really exciting. I kind of like, it's funny, we all went through this time, and I just, I renovated it during COVID. So it was always sort of a place I bought main. I thought that I bought it for Hannah, but the whole objection 21 years ago is the best place to raise Hannah, like
Mhm.
close to her school. Where will her friends be? Not close to the park. And it's a two-bedroom, and I've been here 21 years, and I sort of redid it to make it mine, and I did. It's beautiful. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a beautiful kind of very, I think, chic apartment, right?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And
And
I just
I saw the photos. So
and I just, but I gotta tell you something. I hadn't really started coming back until about a month ago, and I just was like, you know what? 2022 is about change.
hmm hmm well, and as I imagine, having been in that space and at the manor, it's getting now a change of scenery and a
It's
different
not only,
vibe.
what it is. I haven't really been back here, and I really kind of like was, you know, it was in renovation actually. The last season I was on Housewife, so I really haven't been here since before COVID. I was living somewhere else, so it's really kind of like this is the first time in 4 years I've sort of properly moved back. And it's listen, Carnegie Hill and the Upper East Side are the best place to raise children, but I'm sort of like too old for it now and too young for it. You know what I mean? Like everybody is 3 feet and under. Like I'm in the elevator, and the other morning at like 7 in the morning, I'm in the elevator with all these kids screaming going to school, and I see this little girl, and I'm like, oh my God, where do you go to school? And she said Sacred Heart, and Hannah went to Sacred Heart. I bawled. I'm like, I want Hannah to stop going to Sacred Heart because it's Mommy'sville up here. And that part of my life has changed. So I think I
Absolutely.
want to get like a really, I'm looking at one right now. I want to get a very chic 1 bedroom with a balcony, sort of somewhere like in the early 70s off of Madison, that I can sort
hmm
of like be, having lunch, just being, I don't know, it's time for a change.
Absolutely. No, and I
21
mean,
years. Can you imagine I'm old enough to own something for 21 years?
well, it must be. Like I know when I graduated high school, my mom and dad were like, okay, we need, it's the end of one chapter. Once your kid leaves, you kind of,
And I was
if
under some bizarre illusion, because it's all the way up on 87th, that Hannah was going to still come and visit. So, of course, I've got the second bedroom that's like a museum. It's really a storage room. And since I moved in, Hannah's moved in. And so I'm like, Hannah, are you going to come and sleep over? She's like, I'm 28. I live in Midtown. I'm not, no. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, it's done. We've done it.
totally. I mean, now she's close enough. She has her own place, so she can
Well,
come
you know what she
visit, but
said to
she's
me
not
the
going
other
to
day?
stay
We were
there.
walking the dog, Parsley, and she said, Mommy, why don't you move somewhere where we can like meet and walk in the morning? Like change it up. Like I'm telling you, 2022 is about change. It's about shaking it up, making it different. We all came out of this incredible, we almost had to go into a cocoon. And I think we all learned so much during that it's time to kind of break out and get our new wings out. And I do think we're all a little different people now.
Without a doubt. And I mean, I'm so impressed. I mean, because even during COVID, you've been so insanely busy. It's insane. I mean, first
I'm
of all,
not
I
good
love
with
you.
idle hands. I truly am idle hands are for the devil. Like Hannah describes me as like a wind up doll. So I'm either or I'm flat sleeping. There's no in between. I'm a terrible relaxer. Like it's either on fully or off. But I want to just say this before we continue. I went to Franklin and Marshall, and you can ask your mom this. And I graduated in 1987. So in 1985, she came to Franklin and Marshall with the people who started their opening band were the people that sang Love Shack Baby.
Oh, B-52s.
So it was
Yeah, totally.
B-52s and then your mom, okay?
Wow.
In her group. And we were like, it was everything. I mean, that was like, because those were the old school concerts. You could get up close and personal.
Totally. Oh, those were that's the thing about, like, I remember I brought a friend to a go-go show like 5-6 years ago. He was a little younger than me, so I don't blame him for not knowing, but he's like, so what is the show like? Are there backup dancers and smoke machines? I'm like, no, this is back in the day when they had like, drum set, a microphone, a few guitars, and it was like,
and they walked out and like tapped down the microphone and started.
Right.
Like you were just like all sitting around drinking, waiting there for come out.
Yes.
And I remember my boyfriend, Ned Thompson, was in love with your mom. And I was so pissed about it because she was blonde like me. I'm like, well, I don't think she's that hot. I mean, okay. That's a true story.
Well, also, you're a lot younger.
Isn't it ironic? 40 years ago, I am still hearing about Belinda Carter. Like, we had a huge fight at the Chi Phi fraternity afterward. Because he was like, she's so hot. I'm like, I don't think she's that hot, okay? Is that not funny?
No, that's insane. I love that, by the way. That's such an amazing story. And I think she's watching this. She said she'd watch after at the very least. So, we're all big fans of yours.
Thank you.
But no, I mean, I wanted to say I love your book, and I think aside from the fact that it was super entertaining, there were so many amazing, not only stories about all the amazing life experiences that you've had from. I mean, I love the fact that you lived in London, which I lived in London when I was a kid. I think we were actually there around the same time, like mid to late 90s.
Yes.
Back when it was like, that was such a special time
Correct.
And like that whole like late 90s Notting Hill kind of era.
And it was post-Thatcher. I moved there right post-Thatcher, which I don't know when you moved, but I moved at the end of 89 and 90 what's his name? I was going to say John Legend. The prime minister then. It was a Labour
John Major?
John Major, yeah, he took over. God, I was gonna say John. I'm
a political dork, so I know.
But it was like such a new era, and but it still had that old school London. Like I remember someone said to me, "Oh, are you going to the fishmonger?" I'm like, "Well, I should hope not. That sounds terrible." But you had to like learn a whole language because it was still very. Americans were oddities there. I actually, I told the story. I think in the book, I knocked on my neighbor's door. That Lehman Brothers just put us up in Belgravia, which is probably the worst place for a young New Yorker that knew nothing. I'm living in Belgravia with all these people in SW1, okay? And I knocked on my neighbor's door. I said, "Hi, my name is Dorinda Finch. I just got married, and I'm your neighbor. I think we should exchange keys." And she said, "Oh my God, why would I exchange a key with a crazy American?" And she slammed the door, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is terrible. I'm going to be so lonely." Because it was hard to integrate back then. Like Americans weren't fully accepted. And I kind of had a leg up because I was married to a British person. But he was Scottish. So I was reminded he was sort of British. He was really Scottish. They used to say to me, "Which passport does he carry?" And I'd say, "Well, technically."
Well, I know. It's like now there's this, especially now too, there's the big Scottish, English, Irish divide, with all the political stuff. But
yeah, of course.
But
where did you go to school?
I went to a school called Heathside in Hampstead, near Hampstead Heath.
That's where all the artsy people lived in Hampstead.
Well, it was funny actually, because I think we lived next to like who was it? Like one of the, anyways, like there were a bunch of like, you know, English musicians that lived in that area back
Absolutely up
then.
there.
And but it was like, you know, I'm sure you remember a restaurant called San Lorenzo, which was
Do I
where like,
remember it? I was
yeah,
like,
I know.
don't you remember the crazy woman that ran it? She ran
Oh,
it with,
my parent, like I knew her since I was a baby. What was her
so
name?
did Hannah. That
Oh
was
my
like the place
God,
in Beach and Place.
Mara, Mara.
I think she died.
She died. Yeah, she died.
She
But
ran that place with an iron fist, and if you knew her, you knew everything. And then across the street was that great Middle Eastern place where you could go after Annabelle's and get Lebanese food.
Yeah,
It was open like all the time.
sadly,
Oh,
sadly
you
I
were
was
too
too young
young.
for Annabelle's. I wish I'd been around back then. I've been old enough, I mean. But my mom and dad, I think, went to Annabelle's.
Yes.
And I mean, the stories in the book, like the fact you knew Princess Diana, and she went. I know from what I remember, I think she went to San Luis. That whole era in that city was such a special time.
And people don't realize it because, you know, it was very small and it was very neighborhoodly. So it wasn't that odd that you knew everybody. Like if you knew one person, you knew 30 people. It just
Right.
was sort of, and that's what made it so nice because everybody had dinner parties and everybody went away for weekends. And it was a really beautiful place to sort of kind of grow up and become a mother. I think it was so special to partially raise Hannah there because it was much more cozy in a weird way. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still friends with all those people. Do you know if I go back, I'm going back in March for a birthday party. If you
Wow.
stay more than 3 days, it's like you never left. They're like, oh my God, are you coming to the country this weekend? I'm like, I don't live here anymore. You know what I mean?
No, it's absolutely. It's you get quickly very immersed
It takes
in
a
the vibe.
while. You have to peel the onion. Like they don't
Right.
accept you right away. So
But
it's a
once and then
little
once
bit
you come
hard in the
back though,
beginning.
later.
But once you
Yeah.
get in, you're in
Right. Right.
forever.
Absolutely.
I just
And
saw a ton of them at Lightford Key because I go to stay with a friend at Lightford Key in the Bahamas, and it's very British down there. So we all walk together, and it's literally like I said to one of my friends, Sabina McTaggart, I said, it's like nothing's changed. We're just wrinkly now.
you're hardly wrinkly. I mean, you look incredible. But I know what you mean. I mean, hey, I'm also older than I was. I was a little boy when I back then, and now I'm turning 30 in April.
Wow, 30. Wow.
But
I'm twice your age almost. That's horrifying. No, but getting back to the book, I really
yeah,
loved
yeah,
writing the book because it came at such a fortuitous time because they put me on pause. Okay, the famous pause. That word was created for me, otherwise known as fired. And but then, but it all, you know, in life things, if you let go to it, they all work out because at this, like right away, I got the book deal. It was COVID, so I kind of got to hide
hmm
behind COVID. So what would have been sort of a hysterical crying, I could be like, I'm so happy it's COVID, right? And now I can write this book. And the book was such a great, and then I was back in the Berkshires
hmm
where I grew up and I was taking care of my parents who always took care of me. So that was a really great gift I got to do, you know, not that my parents are capable, but this COVID just scared them so
hmm
much that I sort of did that. And it was wonderful to finally, you know, not only like really take a pause and think about like follow the breadcrumbs. Like I never, you know, I've been on such a, I'm sure your mom's like it too because she's a hugely successful woman, but we had to constantly be racing. Next,
hmm
what's next? What's next? What's next? What's
hmm
next? That,
hmm
you know, I think it was the first time I really thought, how the fuck did I get here? You know what I mean? Like, and when I finally
hmm
looked at it, I was actually proud of myself. I said to my mother one day, I'm giving myself a pat on the back. Like, how did I get from 8 Ramsey Avenue in Great Barrington to here? And, you know, it just, you know, I think a little bit was the era, you know, I think it was the beginning of the strong woman,
hmm
where we had mothers that probably didn't, like, if I learned anything, I learned about my mother was just, had all these hopes and dreams that I didn't know about. I sat her down one day and I was talking to her about her life. You know, I just know my mom is my mom. Like, she's devoted to me and the kids, and she had no other life except me, right? So I was enough. But then I said to her, so tell me, Mom, tell me about what it was like. She goes, well, you know, I got a full scholarship to secretarial school. And God knows what would have happened. I could have maybe married an executive. And I'm thinking, well, that's a horrible thing to say. Like, are you, because I didn't know that my mother had any other hopes and dreams beside me.
Yeah.
and her 3 other children. And that was a big revelation. I saw her not as a mother, but like really as like, my mother had her first baby at 19, then 21, then 23,
Wow.
25.
Because my mom's mother was 19, and so and what you just said was so right on. Because not to take away from your story, but it is
Yeah.
funny that you knew and you foresee that my mom's story is probably similar, because her mother had dreams of being an actress or a music singer when she was young, and ended up becoming, which was great for good. She was happy for their husband and everything, but kind of gave up those dreams in a way,
But I
to
think
focus on
what
her
they
kids.
did is I think they poured them into us. And,
Yep.
I can't stress it enough. A huge amount of who I am is because my mother really never said no to me. I'd be like, I'm going to be fabulous. I'm going to move and I'm going to be great. And she'd be like, oh, I remember telling my father about Bluestone Manor. I'm going to buy that house one day and I'm going to live there and I'm going to, all of us are going to live there. And my father would say, okay, great. Just tell me when we can move in. And look, it kind of happened. Sorry, the sun's coming. It happened. So they really were, I didn't grow up with any money, but they never said no. Like, I really believed I could be anything. And that truly is just such a great, way to grow up. And I try to do it with Hannah. I think it's harder for kids now
Absolutely.
because I think it's really hard on young people now. The stakes are higher. The Instagram, the living up to a bar. We didn't really have to live up to much because we didn't know what was going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just live day to day.
Absolutely.
And I also think the social thing, Hannah said to me today, how did you have so many friends without the telephone and stuff? I said, because we would go out.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were out you would press your Memorex tape and it'd be like, beep, meet me at Coconut Grill, beep. And you never canceled. So, this age that you guys have of canceling didn't exist. If you had your Filofax, and if you were having dinner with someone, on a Thursday night, unless you were dying or you had another date, that was always your get out of jail card with your girlfriend. If you had another date, you could cancel because we were all getting married any minute. You know what I mean?
It's funny, Filofax. I think my mom still has the Filofax. She might have finally gotten rid of it.
I still have my old Gucci Filofax.
How funny! I think my mom's is Gucci too, actually.
With the tab, but it's all worn out.
Oh my! Totally. I think I think she still uses it.
And you have to order the inserts like 2 months ahead of time. Every year I'm like, please God, tell me they haven't canceled them. Because 1 year they're going to be like, we don't make the agenda inserts.
You got to have a closet full of Filofax.
But you can't because it's every year's different.
Right. But related to what you were saying, regarding your family and your mom, but the story about your grandmother was so amazing. How she said, that you are the person that and forgive me if I'm not phrasing this correctly.
She said you've become the person I used to work for.
Right. Which is pretty.
Which I was both
profound.
proud of and horrified. I was like sitting there thinking, that's so sad. And she gave me a check, and I still have the check in my drawer. I'm gonna cry. And she still
no, but I mean that's what the dream is all about. I mean that's what you want you want that for your kids and for your grandkids. And I mean that's what generation over generations.
And can you imagine the last check she gave me before she died? She still couldn't properly write her name. I look at it all the time still. It says Mary, but it's like yeah. I'm like, oh,
Well, I mean, and there's so many things I want to ask you about. I'll try to speed up. I know I could have spent an hour talking just about London in the 90s, but like you have so many life lessons. I mean, you've already in the book, and you already kind of talked about what your outlook on the year and everything. But what are some of the big like life lessons you would say that you would like to think are sort of the main crux of your book? The main pieces of wisdom that you wanted to impart on people.
I think it's very important that I always say to Hannah, your failures define you as much as your successes. And I think people don't understand that. My mother used to say, oh, there's no such thing as no, there's just another way around it. It's a harder form of yes. And I think that, you have to, if you really believe in something and you got to, it's very hard, but you can't listen to the noise. Because if we listen to the noise, you'll never be successful. I think when you listen to people's life stories, they were told all the time they weren't going to make it. They weren't talented enough. They were, and that you just have to it's literally the old song, just put one foot in front of the other. And when you fail, just get up and reorganize and keep it moving. I had to learn that a couple times. And I think one of the biggest lessons was after Richard passed, I really was just disgusted. I mean, I was not only sad and grieving, but I was disgusted because I really felt like, what is going on here? I did everything right. I was a good mom. I was always loyal to my spirituality, good to my parents. Did the right things, and boom, this guy dies on me. Are you kidding me, God? You know what I mean? Like and my mother kind of snapped me out of it. My mother was like, if he came to you 8 years ago and said, I'm going to be part of your life for 8 years, 6 married, 2 dating, and then I'm going to have to leave you, would you have taken him? I said, yeah. She goes, well, that's what you got. So now we got to move on. We need to get up every day, wash your face, go for a walk. He's dead, not you. And it really kind of like shook me up to, do it again. And, I often think about it, like, Richard wouldn't know my life now. Like, Richard wouldn't even know a lot of my friends. And I don't know if Richard would so much recognize me. I think he'd be very proud of me. But, like, I rejiggered it again. And the person that was married to Richard is not the person I am today.
I think that's important. I think that's a great point. That it's, and I mean, even in my, even I'm turning. I feel like I've started to understand this concept that it's okay to. It actually is good to evolve throughout life, and you don't need to always be the same person, and that you can like. And not to keep bringing her up, but I know from my mom, she's a very,
I
very,
love the
very,
fact you
very
bring up your
different
mom all the
person.
time. I hope Hannah brings me up as much.
But no,
I
it's
love
like
that.
again, another similarity. You both have embraced the idea that you don't have to be the same person that you were 10 or 20 or 30 or like my mom's 40 years ago. Like it's actually okay and good to evolve and to embrace change.
And don't expect the unexpected. We try to I thought I kind of figured out my life in these times, and then it gets I'm like, I kind of laid my life out like a book, like chapter 1, I'm going to be this person, then I'm going to be a mom, and then I'm going to get married, and then be a mom and have fabulous life. And sometimes if you try to write your chapters before them happen, they get botched up. You kind of have to live in the chapter of your life, because how many times have you read a book when you thought it was going to end a certain way? You're like, wow, I never expected that. And that's what life's a little about. You just don't know that you kind of have to live in your chapters. You know what I mean? Who would have thunk that at 58 I would be a widow and have done, if someone said to me 10 years ago, you are going to be, or let's say 11, because Richard's been dead 10 years, so 12 years ago, you're going to be a widow and you're going to be a reality TV person, I would be like, I'm Mrs. Medley, okay? That shit's never happened, you know what I mean? But look, it all worked out.
Absolutely.
It's all been such a great experience. I get to sit in front of someone fabulous like you today. That would have never have happened. And, just, you got to be open. Yep.
Well, on a lighter note, I also wanted, not lighter because that was very positive, but on a more shall we say, on a whatever, a silly note, whatever. I wanted to bring up something very important, which is Bluestone Manor bourbon, which by the way, this is really bad. I almost was like thinking, should I even mention this? I literally finished that entire bottle in, I think, 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Granted, my roommate had a little bit also, but that bourbon is so
delicious,
unbelievable.
Let me grab the bottle. I just brought one back because I'm bringing it over to my friend's house for dinner tonight. Isn't it a beautiful bottle?
Not only is it a beautiful bottle, which it is, and I love the decanter part of it. You literally just put it right there on your bar, but the fact that I've had bourbon before and whiskey, but I'm not usually like what I'm about to say is 100% sincere. I am now a bourbon person because of Bluestone Manor. It's so good and smooth, and anyway. I want to give you a chance to talk about it, but
I'm proud of it because I wanted to. I think when you're on these TV shows or whatever, you get all these different opportunities, like, you know, everyone, like the obvious things to do with wine or do with this. And it took me a long time. And I really realized that Bluestone was really the branding. And I wanted to do something that was a standalone of it. So you just didn't look at it and say, oh, there's another housewife thing, right? Like I really wanted to do like this. People will buy this because they're bourbon drinkers. And we really worked hard on the bottle, and we really worked hard on the branding and the key idea that, and the bourbon is it took 3 years. People just think I threw it together. It took 3 years.
Wow.
And I knew exactly the way I wanted the bourbon to taste. And the reason I did bourbon is because I had gone to a great party it was called the 44 Club. And I saw all these women, it was like way before COVID, drinking dark liquor. And I thought there was something so powerful and sexy about it. Because you're just not used to that, right? So
Totally.
and then I was thinking about Bluestone Manor, like what goes there, you know? And it just looks so beautiful that I do think there's something very sexy about a woman that holds a cut glass with a dark liquor in it. Or a man, or anyone, you know what I mean?
Right. It's sexy. It's elegant. I mean, obviously
Speak
it fits.
easy. It's sort of tell me your secrets, I'll tell you yours. And I love a good secret. You know, and Bluestone Manor is so befitting for that because we always have these, you know, cold late nights where everyone has, you know, cordial or a bourbon at the end of the night in front of the fire. Like people will say to me, it's the only place that at 11 o'clock at night I drink, you know, a dark liquor. So I thought it just fit. And people have really loved it. Thank God. Thank God.
What is that what was the process like? I mean, was it
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the place is close to me, so I could go and like taste. But it was funny. I had to go to all these different tastings. So of course, the first tasting, I'm like, yes. You know, it's like 9 in the morning. I'm doing the tasting. I'm like, wait a second. I have to drive home. Like, like next time we do a tasting, because first of all, after about tasting 12 of them, you don't taste anything anymore. You're just like
it's all
like,
weird
do you
now.
like that one? I'm like, who would know, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun though.
And love spirits had to come to Bluestone Manor because I would need a nap after tasting. It would be like 10:30 in the morning. I'm cold.
Hysterical. How great though. It sounds, I mean, honestly, it is so good.
And it's really good over ice cream.
Oh, that sounds really good. I'm going to get another bottle.
I'll send you a bottle. You'll give me
that
because I'll just send it to you and I'll sign it.
Well, that would be amazing. I would love that. I would really love that.
Not that you want me to sign it. I'm
Are you
just
kidding?
assuming you want me to sign it.
I'd be
that
thrilled.
That was a real asshole thing to say.
No, you kidding? I'd be honored. I'd be thrilled. But no,
so
I mean,
we have that, and then I have the I did the candle this year, which I have here too. Let me show you.
I love the video you put up of you with the bourbon, with the candle, and your robe, and it was super, very elegant, very elegant.
Pretty.
The candles are gorgeous too.
Yeah. So listen, I'm not doing it fast. I'm doing slow and steady with the branding. I want it to make sense. I want people to look at it and say, okay, I get that. Because I think if you just put out a lot of schlock, no one's going to give a shit. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's, I mean, what you've accomplished in 2-3 years. I mean, between the book, the bourbon, the candles, it's all top notch.
Now I want to do
classy.
Christmas line. I think Bluestone Manor needs 2 things. I think it needs its own. I think it needs its own. What's it called? China, Christmas China. I think it needs its own set of ornaments.
That's a great idea. Really great idea.
I think I would do well with a Christmas tree like line. I think I would do very well.
Well, I saw you're big into your, not just Christmas trees. Don't you have your Valentine's Day?
I do. It's very good. And unfortunately, I'm not going to see it before Valentine's because I'm like committed from now through Valentine's.
Well, it's cute though. I mean, you can keep that up all year. I mean, that's like hearts should be year round.
Well, did you see the flower tree I did that I had that girl do from the multicolored flower tree?
Yes, I did.
That sucker staying up all year. Just makes me too happy. I cannot take it down. That's this amazing girl, Sam Ricoli. She does trees. If you go to the Kings of Christmas, she does these wild trees. She's so talented. And she's so right. Like, why don't we just have a Christmas tree for every season? Listen, after going through COVID, do what makes you happy. I'm telling you. Like the rules have changed. If having a Christmas tree up all year makes you, just do it. But we're very happy here in New York because I think we're loosening up on everything. Where are you?
Right. I'm in LA, West Hollywood.
Are
So
they loosened up on stuff, the mask yet?
the state is lifting its requirements, I think, next week. But the problem is LA is different. You know, they're allowing each city and county to do its own thing. I think it'll be lifted soon anyway. I mean, you know, we're open except for the mask thing is still required. But, you know, I have a feeling that that'll probably, I think by April, it'll probably, you
I
know,
think
be
March,
lifted.
fingers crossed, I think March is going to be like the end of February. I mean, New Yorkers are done now. Like, we are very
Yeah.
good when we're good, but
Yeah.
when we're done, we're done. Like,
Yeah.
people are like, okay, we did it. We vaccinated.
2 year, yeah.
We led it.
There it
We
is.
did it. So I'm ready.
Well, you're even in the midst of difficult circumstances. You've done so much
Trying.
amazing work over the last 2-3 years, and you should be proud of it. It's
Thank you.
amazing. And anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm so
Should we
grateful.
answer anyone's question? Does anybody have a question for us? Can you do that? Oh, you
Sure,
can't do
yeah,
that,
of
right?
course. If you want to take a few questions.
Yes, we're here. Housewife Debbie, so done. Okay,
I was going to ask him, is there anything else that you are working on? I know you've got Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, which is coming
We
out
do
soon.
have the girls trip, and I think it's going to be great. They haven't told us when it's coming out. It's so funny. People always think I know more than anyone else, but I don't. But that's going to be. They were supposed to be at my house for.
I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
It was supposed to be for 4 days. They ended up staying for 8 days. So you can imagine what is. I can't even imagine. I slept for a week later. Do you have a tequila line? No, I do not. Come back to Real Housewives of New York. Oh, that's sweet. Miss you. That's so sweet. But that's going to be great. And then, yeah, I'm always like, I'm doing like the whole appearances have started again. My paperback's coming out March 22nd.
Oh, great.
Make It Nice. I was really bummed out. The other thing I was bummed out about the book is I couldn't do appearances, like book signings and stuff. That was a bummer because that's the funnest part. And then I don't know. I'm selling my apartment. I really want to. After I sell my apartment, I want to do a big trip. I told Hannah, get ready. When I sell the apartment, I want to go away and do a really proper 2-week holiday together, mother-daughter. Like,
I mean, that was one of the best parts of obviously of COVID ending was that I got to be with my mom and dad again, and long story, but they were living in Thailand, which that was under serious lockdown, where if you left, you couldn't really come back in. So they were in an impossible position because they were like, we don't have our home is here, and if we leave, then God knows how long we're going to be stuck outside of the country. So I didn't see them for 18 months. So I got to be with them again last June, and then I've seen them a bunch since then.
Did you cry when you saw them?
It was pretty emotional. Yeah, it was surreal because at first, anyway, I could go on about it, but it was.
No, but it's true. It's so true because we did another gig that we'll never take that for granted again.
Right, exactly.
We'll never take that's.
Exactly.
Like, you didn't know. I mean, we all kind of went into it thinking, okay, let's just do this for 3 months, then we'll all be back.
Right.
Then when it hits 18 months, it could have been longer. Just by the grace of God, it wasn't. But imagine if it went on for another 18 months.
If we had known that it was going to be 18 months, you're right. It was because it kind of went month to month to month. It didn't feel quite as daunting. But then
if someone told you in the beginning you're not going to see your mom and dad for almost 2 years,
yeah, it would be.
Unthinkable. Like grandparents died and not seeing them. Like, it was real.
Right. Yes, it was. Anyway, I'm so happy that you get to be with your daughter. And
yes, we're gonna do a great trip. I think we're gonna do a trip through Italy. She's always wanted to do that,
great.
so I think we're gonna do. I'm gonna take 2 weeks to do that, and then
great.
Yeah, come back and go back. It's all about the hustle. I always say when someone says to me, it's all about the hustle. Just get up every day, keep it moving.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you who are interested, I'll post the link in the caption to the whiskey or the bourbon to buy it online because it's so good. And Dorinda, thank you so much. I'm so honored.
Thank you. So say hi to your mom. Tell her I love her.
I will.
And Thank
And
you
hey,
for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'll send you. Will you send me your address? I'll send you this bourbon.
of course I will.
Look
And
at
by the
mwah!
Go-Go's don't have any shows, I don't think, this year on the East Coast. But next time my mom or the Go-Go's have a show out there, I'll make sure that you get tickets
I
because.
would, and I'll bring Ned Thompson. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, you know what? It'll be great.
I
It'll
would
be
love that.
great. It'll be fun. So,
All right, thank
and
you
then
so
hopefully
much.
meet
Have a good
you
one.
next time you're out on the West Coast. So, but thank you,
Bye bye
Dorinda.
now.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Jason, for making this
Thank you,
happen.
Jason. Thank you, Jason Pinion.
Jason's the best.
Bye.
Bye
He
bye.
is. Bye. Bye.